Okay, well, I think now we are actually live on the internet and here in Aberystwyth. Welcome to the commentary for round 7 of the British Chess Championship. I'm Andrew Martin, and with me I have my esteemed co-commentator, Mr. Ravikumar.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Who has been a veritable fountain of useful knowledge throughout the entire event. That is when he's not asleep. So, now, we obviously have a situation in this tournament where one player is currently running away with it. Jonathan Hawkins has 6 out of 6, which is an incredible score. But strangely, he's only played one Grandmaster, hasn't he? Yeah. And the tradition continues today as he's playing white against Yang Fanzo, who, whilst a very strong player, is not yet a Grandmaster. So Hawkins is going to have to recognise that to win this tournament, he's going to have a very stiff run in, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's going to have to play Howe, he's going to have to play Pert, he's going to have to play Williams, he's going to no, he has played Williams, he's going to have to play Hebden.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to have a really difficult run. So it's easy to say, I've got 6 out of 6.
Yeah, I think that...
I think it's going to be difficult for him.
That makes him the favourite at this point, you know, I mean, as long as he plays sensibly, and, you know, we've got 5 rounds remaining, and he's got a white today, and he knows he's going to go for the win today, because, you know, if he wins today, he's almost kind of like then play a very safe chess, just keep everything calm, shake hands, you know, because there's a 1.5 point gap.
Yep.
And if he wins this one, you maintain that 1.5 point gap going into the final 4 rounds. So you're already 1.5 points, so you need about 2 points technically to win the tournament. So, you know, it could be 4 handshakes, you know, but if you play someone like Hebden, who will make him play, you know, I mean, and I think what Hawkins needs to do is, you know, tomorrow's day off, you know, win this game today, go and relax completely, come up with a different game plan for the last 4 rounds. Because I've seen umpteen times that, you know, someone shoots like a rocket in the initial rounds, and then they find the best players are playing them, and that is the crunch time.
Fine. Well, one of the things that was confusing me yesterday was that I didn't realise it was 7 rounds before the rest day. I mean, that's already quite a difficult thing. Normally there's 6 rounds, then a break, then 5 rounds. Here, the schedule is completely different to, you know, what it's been in previous years. So 7 rounds without a break, that's pretty tough.
Okay.
So we could see some mistakes in games today simply because the players are getting a bit tired.
Yeah.
And anybody that is around here in Aberystwyth will know that there's a heat wave going on at the moment. So it really is absolutely boiling, you know, isn't it? Even in the commentary room, it's boiling here this afternoon. So let's see what transpires. So Hawkins is white, and I think he opened with 1d4.
Yeah,
perhaps expecting the King's Indian defence from Yang Fan, and that's exactly what he got. Yeah. A bold choice by Yang Fanzo, because of course Hawkins plays the King's Indian himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think just to say about Yang Fanzo, it's like after the initial round, he had a couple of draws, I presume, walked down and went down, and now he's like bounced back into the top tables, and he hasn't either played everyone. So when he's playing black, and Hawkins is like, you know, he's like Fritz 17 opening board. Just to give you an example, that's how deep he researches. He currently lives in Barnet, okay, in that area. I've met him on occasions, so you know he's like far ahead. And I sometimes rattle moves with him. We do some training sessions together sometimes, or we meet in a club day or something. And he says, no, that's not the theory. There's another game played in Russia, which is upload. So he's developed this system whereby he's got an excellent opening book. So he's getting head start on the opening, isn't it?
Well, let's see whether he gets a head start in this opening. And in the mainline King's Indian, he plays Bishop E2. Black castles, and now white chooses generally between Bishop G5, which is the Averback setup, or Knight F3, which I think was the move Hawkins played, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hawkins played. And last year, Flair played the Averback system against him. And that game was like a very crucial win for Flair.
That was the best game prize.
That was the best game prize as well, isn't it? I mean,
so both sides dueling in an opening they know a lot about. Okay. All right, so black plays E5, and now comes Bishop E3, the Gligorich system.
Yeah, this is like a very solid setup, you know.
Very flexible.
You play the other lines, there's probably theory for 20 moves. And this is the line that kind of generates, because you now have to go knight g4 is your best chance, and then in comes bishop g5, which is what happened in the game.
Well, let's compare this between the classical variation and bishop e3. So in the classical, white castles, black plays knight c6, white goes d5, knight e7, and quite often black can move this knight out of f6, play f5, and get a kingside attack. Now, one of the main ideas behind the Gligorich system was that if black tries the same idea, it's not quite as effective this time, simply because white hasn't castled. So, for instance, after knight d2, if black goes for the same idea,
then in comes g4.
White can even stop it. And white gains from not having castled. So this is one of the main strategical ideas behind the Gligorich system. And knight c6 doesn't score very well for black. So as Ravi says, black's got to find some other idea. Knight g4 is one of the obvious lines, I would say, attacking the bishop on e3. But black has other moves. Black can play knight bd7, black can play c6, black can take on d4, black can play queen e7. Lots of things have been tried in this position, but knight g4 is the most direct because it attacks the bishop and forces the bishop to move again. Well, with the centre under fire, white's got to keep attacking black pieces, so bishop g5 was played. Now, what did Zhu play?
f6.
f6. Okay, so I suppose white would argue that's already a slight concession. Slightly weakens black's kingside, it closes down this bishop, it takes the pressure off d4, but of course it gains one move, because white's got to move the bishop. Now, what did he play? Bishop h4 or bishop c1?
There's only two moves here, bishop h4 or bishop c1. And Hawkins went bishop c1. This line, I believe, is one of the most dangerous, because the bishop goes to c1, and now you see your knight is in g4, has to withdraw to h6. You can't play f5, although f5 has been played in this position as well. And then the bishop would come back to g5. So I think that in this position, black plays knight at 6, which is what which is a sensible choice.
Okay, well, the thing is that white's moved now this bishop 3 times. But have the moves that black's gained helped him at all?
My question is, should you wait until white plays h3? Can he gain some moves like h5 here? Is that of any help?
Well, I really don't like making all these moves on the king side when white hasn't castled. I mean, you've got to be really careful making moves like h5. They can really rebound against you, because they can simply turn out to be weakening moves.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but it's certainly risky. So anyway, what happened?
So he played bishop c1.
Yep.
Black played knight h6.
Knight h6 voluntarily.
And then now he took d5. Clarification in the center.
Right, let's just check out what goes on in this position. So not many people go d takes e5. Majority of people are castling, or d5, d takes e5, or even h4. I can search here in the reference database. Just let me have a look. And we will soon see what the stats are. Okay, well, d takes e4, d takes e5 is top of the list. I take it all back, scoring a cool 84% for white. So there you are. That just goes to show, that Hawkins is right on top of theory. He's right on top of the statistics. D takes e5 is scoring the best by miles. So it's up to Zhu to show what he's got. So d takes e5, and now I presume black plays d takes e5, does he?
Yeah, what's wrong with f takes e5? I mean, is it structurally unsound, or?
What's wrong with it?
I mean, my motivation for playing that is that, I have an open file for the rook, and my plan is to get my knight to d4, and I have easy development for the bishop. So, I mean, this must be something like bishop g5, nagging the queen, and then when the queen goes to e8, and then knight d5. This must be
well.
Reason why.
Does that really do anything? Let's see. Knight a6.
Yeah, and then knight e7 check.
Knight e7 check. All right.
And then you have to take on c8, and I guess white can claim he's got something because he's knocked off that bishop. And
just a sec, going back to d takes e5. F takes e5 is generally answered by c5. But it seems to be fairly level between D takes E5 or F takes E5. What black can play either.
Wasn't there a famous Kasparov game with F3?
It's possible. Let's find out. We can soon find out. I just hit Elo White. The short answer to your question is no. Sorry? That's true. It might not be. There is the off chance that Karpov Kasparov might not be on the database.
I thought F6, the old-fashioned way of playing, has never been computed. I thought F6 is no longer excellent these days.
Well, let's go on. Let's go on. So D takes E5. Zhu took with the D pawn, yes, keeping a symmetrical pawn structure. And now?
And now he played Queen D5 check, which is quite interesting.
Check.
I mean, basically, he's saying if you take Queen into D5, C into D5, and then he's quite happy to play the endgame.
Okay, Queen to D5 check. Well, first point to note, I'm not going to get scared just because you've checked me. Okay, what if I play Knight F7? That's the first thing. What is White gaining by that check? I suppose he plays his bishop out to E3, and then I'm just going to play C6. What is White achieving here? Take on D8, Rook takes, pawn up to C5, bishop out to E6. Is this so good for White? Looks fairly level. What do you think of Queen D5 check?
I think are there any games? But that's the thing. You must be finding a lot of games.
One game, incredibly,
Mm-hmm.
from 2010. I'm sure if we go back to D takes E5, we'll find more games with Queen takes Queen. So Queen takes takes D8 is more common. Queen D5 check unusual, and in the one game that it was played in, King H8. But I just don't understand why Black doesn't bring his knight back. Is there something wrong with that? I'm just going to kick the Queen by playing C6.
So Knight F7 is theory.
You've got theory.
Yeah.
What happens if I back?
Knight F7 is theory.
So if you play C3, or Queen back to B3, the idea of playing bishop to C4.
Knight F7, C5 now.
Yes.
Well, this will probably transpose to the other line, won't it?
Queen back to B3.
You want to keep the queens on?
Yeah, and bishop's
Well,
and then you've got a rook on C1.
well, yeah, no, I'm going to attack this pawn.
I think
You're moving your queen around a
That
lot.
is a typical idea.
Bishop
But only
E3.
after you develop. I think it's too early you to play C5. I think for Knight F7, which is played in the game, Hawkins played Bishop E3, which is theory, and you know he's
Well, you say it's theory, but I've only got one game on the database. But
Yeah,
Black played
I mean-
King H8.
like
That's it.
yes, there is King H8 one game, which White has won, and there is Knight F7.
Well, I just think Knight F7 is a better move. Why do you need to put your king in the
So
corner?
Knight F7, Bishop E3, all theory, and now
C6.
and I think he should play Bishop G4, but I don't know what he's done now.
Is this the game?
Yeah, that is the game, and he's thinking.
Who's Yang Fan is thinking?
The correct move is Bishop G4. I think he got the
Bishop
wrong-
G4?
by something you got the wrong position there. That's not what happened exactly.
Well, you've been giving me the moves.
So D4 and F6,
Yeah, go on.
C4 G6,
Yeah, still good so far.
NC3 BG7,
Yes,
E4 D6,
yes.
Bishop E2 castle,
Go on.
Knight F3 E5,
Yes.
castle Knight C6.
We never had a rigorous system.
I take it all back. Castles first.
Castles first, Knight C6,
Right, we'll do that. We'll keep our analysis. Knight C6.
Bishop E3.
Okay, well, this is a much less dangerous system. Okay, they used to play this. I remember there was a game, Larson v Fischer, very famous game, where white took on e5 somewhere. You get knight g5, you get knight b5. I think black's supposed to play rook e8 in this position. That's the old line.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up between rook e8 and knight g4. I remember this game between Larson and Fisher now, what happened. There's some line where you play knight b5, knight g5, and it's all tactical. Bishop e3, this is a very safe line, isn't it, for white?
Yeah, very
This
safe
is totally
line.
different because white's castled. It's not the same as the Gregoric system at all.
Yeah, and then knight g4.
All right, so knight g4.
Bishop g5.
Yeah, f6, bishop c1.
c1.
Yeah,
Knight h6.
yeah.
In comes d5.
D takes e5.
And my
D
question
takes
was,
e5.
what happens if fd5? What's wrong with fd5?
Once I've addressed myself to the new situation, I'll be able to tell you.
Is it bishop g5 and then knight d5?
Well, that looks playable, doesn't it? Well, on bishop g5, I actually think black plays queen d7. It only looks inconvenient. In reality, black's going to go knight f7 and get rid of the bishop, then move his queen back. But I mean, even if he goes queen e8, what's the big deal here? You going knight d5?
Knight d5.
I see that's slightly more awkward than before.
And for queen d7, I'll go knight d5. You can't play knight f7 because then I can win your bishop with knight f6 check.
Well, then you've answered your own question, haven't you? That's probably what happens after f takes e5.
Okay.
I'm glad we've got that clear.
Yeah.
Right, d takes e5.
Yeah. And now
Queen d5 check in a very loud voice.
it's all theory, and now
Please hear it. Let's find out.
I'm back.
Oh my
after
gosh,
6
look at
rounds.
these games.
Yeah.
36 games.
Yeah.
And the earliest of them was played in 1953. All right, check. Okay, so you say he's thinking.
Yeah, he's thinking.
Well, knight f7 looks the obvious move. To me, knight f7 looks completely obvious.
So, and one of my engine here, I have Stockfish, which is an open source engine, which I have downloaded. The Stockfish 5, absolutely free. Anyone can download and use. And it's one of the strongest engine. It's based on that, the fruit engine, or the original engine written down, the source code. And everybody has developed, and that's why, we don't have any more other Rivka because there was an issue in that. And so now this is open source Stockfish, anybody can download. Seems to work, and seems to work very well.
No wonder you can't get your computer going.
And
all these
there's
open
also
source engines
Komodo.
on them.
Many people know about Komodo, chess engine Komodo. Anybody heard about Komodo chess engine? So, yes, okay, so that's a very good engine. We've got Komodo version 7 available, but version 5 is free again. I mean, chess engines can suggest some new moves, because when we follow this opening book, what happens is that some grandmaster possibly has sit down and looks at each variation, and then he would have used an engine and made his decision. That's the book move we have. But when you look at the book move and when you turn the engine on, you possibly get better suggestions, because probably this book that I'm using now was released way back, and a lot of improvements has happened. So
I don't
that's
think
why,
you don't need a book here to find knight f7, do you? I mean, it's a choice between putting the king in the corner or
In
just
fact,
moving the knight.
In fact, in my book, knight f6, there's a question mark for knight f6.
Well, okay.
So this is all still theory, and after knight f7, bishop e3, solid development, and that's been the hallmark of Hawkins, isn't it? He just plays so solid, isn't it? He doesn't. I haven't seen him in a game where he's under pressure or something. I think yesterday's game he might have been under pressure.
Well, I mean, black by playing knight g4 provoked this position.
Yeah.
You could have played rook e8. But anyway, we've got this position now. I mean, to me, it doesn't look entirely. It doesn't look very frightening for black. You say bishop e3. Okay. So how do we get rid of that queen? All right. Well, bishop g4. Let's get some pieces out.
That's the theory move.
It's nice to know.
Bishop g4, h3, and you have to now give the bishop for the knight, which I don't think is a good thing to do now.
Give the bishop for the knight in order to plonk my knight in on d4. Is that right? Again, I just say it doesn't look too bad. And maybe you can take on b7, but then you get your pawns around your king messed up, don't you? Well, anyway, so queen d5 check. We can take a look. We can use all the modern technology here, and there have been plenty of games played. Black seems to be doing okay in the vast. Well, no, actually, it's been about level between knight f7 and king h8. One guy played queen takes d5, but I really don't like that. So if we turn our non-open source engine on here, it seems to like white in either case. King h8, it doesn't like as much.
It doesn't like white that much.
Well, it prefers knight f7 to king h8.
Well, knight f7 is played, you know, I mean, that's a better move.
Is that played in the game?
Knight f7 already played in the game.
Okay, good.
And
Has white made a move?
white played bishop e3,
Yeah.
and now he played knight e7.
Right, so he is trying to get rid of the queen, isn't he?
And now,
Hang on a minute, why am I not winning a pawn here? With knight b5. Queen takes queen. What do you take with the rook? Knight b5. Why am I not winning a pawn here?
so queen d8, rook d8, even knight b5 is quite.
C6.
Yeah, but still. Knight c7. You're losing more than a pawn now. You're losing your marbles. I know, because I've lost them already. I know what it feels like.
No, you can see C6 and the knight can't take it. Knight can't get out. You can C6.
What do you mean?
C6.
Yeah, that's been suggested. The light gets in. The light may not be able to get out. Who cares? What about your rook? Thank you.
Hawkins is thinking, and I think knight b5 is a very pleasant.
Well, hang on a minute. Has he taken the queen off?
Yeah.
He took it.
Yeah.
And Yang Feng took with the rook.
He's thinking now.
No, knight going for the material. Oh, that was the first thing that crossed my mind, because there's an echo in that Larson Fisher game where they do this sort of thing. Knight comes to b5, and suddenly Black looks at the position and thinks, "I'm losing a pawn." You know, this is out of nowhere. Why doesn't that win a pawn, Ravi?
Yeah. So knight b5, can I play knight c6?
Well, I'm going to win your pawn, mate.
Rook b8, and then you put knight b5.
Yeah, but that if this wasn't a family audience, I'd describe that solution
And you know, I mean, like already with the opening now, you know, he's built up a position where his pieces are nicely set up. If you see those three pieces, bishop on d7, knight on f7, like that second rank, you know, the guards of second rank or something like that.
This is crazy, you know. Why isn't white just winning a pawn here?
He is.
Sorry? Which one? Rook d7. Well, you want to win the bishop. You want to win the bishop. That's naughty. Okay, I'm going to take it. Come on. Rook takes. Bishop takes. b6. No way.
Knight b5.
Or maybe a way.
Knight
okay,
a7.
I've got to be careful. c5 is the move.
Hang on.
Just a second.
Brings in white square as well.
Doesn't this let the bishop emerge? Let the bishop live.
Yeah. It looks like Hawkins will find knight b5, which is the ideal turn.
One game. Adamski versus Suba. White won. I mean, what that probably means is another grandmaster blundered into this position. I think Yang Fan's gone in for this, and he's just overlooked knight b5. All right, well, let's have a look at Adamski versus Suba. Knight b5, bishop g4 happened. I think I'm definitely going to come in and whip that pawn off. Rook A8, Knight D5. I mean, doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Why isn't black just a pawn down? I mean, admittedly, you can take this knight on F3, doubling my pawns, and then play here. Knight into D5, takes, rook in. That looks a bit more like it for black. But I mean, this is also attacked, isn't it? Still. So if I protect this, well, okay. If he doesn't play Knight B5, what's he going to do?
He just played Knight B5.
Well, there's no real surprise in that, is there? And I suppose Yang Fan is just going to look at this position and think unmentionable things. Ravi's just pointed out to me that somebody in the front row is fast asleep, which is always an encouraging sign for the commentator. There have been people over the years who've come in here specifically to get an afternoon nap. You know, you capture their snoring on YouTube now, which makes it even more embarrassing.
So Knight B5, isn't it? I mean, like Hawkins seems to have, you know, something going for him, isn't it? I mean, I think clearly he sees that, you know, this is just a point.
I mean, to be honest, it's a bit of a ropey game, isn't it, for ball one of the British Chess Championship, to be honest with you. I mean, if black just allows Knight B5 winning a
I
ball.
hope we get all these class games that we have been awaiting after the break tomorrow.
Well, Bishop G4, let's see this, because the engine doesn't seem to think it's too bad. And now it gives H3 as the best move. Not Knight takes C7, Rook A C8. And now, according to this, the advantage is only 0.9 after Knight B5. Bishop takes F3, G takes F3. Yeah, it still looks ropey, I have to say, for black. Yeah, it should be a pawn up. So Hawkins will be very satisfied with the result of this opening. It looks as though he's going to win a pawn, and it's really the onus is on black to prove compensation. So let's move on to Ward versus Howe, Ravi. Now, what have you got for that? Ward won a nice game against Marcus Harvey yesterday. Howe beat Jack Rudd in that game that we saw.
Where the king got drawn to H5.
Yes. Okay, so Ward opens D4 usually.
Okay. How many moves have been played so far?
Well, it was 3 about half an hour ago. Has it cranked up to 4 yet?
It's just now 8 moves have been played.
8 moves. There must be really deep moves, very difficult to find.
And the person
So let's see what they are.
And the person who has used most of his time is Howell. So D4, E6.
Okay, let's see if you can work out why he's using his time. Right, E6, 15 minutes late. Okay, that's the first example. Howell is an habitual latecomer. Always gets into time trouble. Then he wonders why. Right, carry on.
So isn't that
Perhaps he does that to avoid the cameras. You know, in the Karpov-Kasparov matches, I remember none of them came on time. They were never there. They always used to come 5 minutes late to avoid the cameras. Or thinking 45 minutes on the first move.
E4, E6 after half an hour. D4 another half an hour later, E5.
Or maybe Howell is a reincarnation of Bronstein. Who knows? Anyway,
So are you allowed to come late to the British Championship?
there's no zero tolerance.
So
Actually, let's have a bit of a straw poll here. Who thinks zero tolerance is a good idea? You have to arrive on time, or you lose the game. Who thinks this is a good idea? So do I. I think this is a good idea. Who doesn't think it's a good idea?
How long are you suggesting?
I'm zero tolerance. If you don't arrive at the appointed time, that's it.
I enter to play chess. My phone is late, especially at default. That's no chess game for me. Yeah, which tournament?
If you turn up late to work, you get the sack, don't you? Okay, these are professional chess players playing for large sums of money, and chess players want sponsors. That's the first thing.
yeah, and the other thing is that if you were
Second thing is, you've got an accomplice in a car, somewhere in the car park. The first move's played. Please prepare me for this. Half an hour, they see the first move played, you can go and prepare.
yeah,
That's another good reason. And it's totally disrespectful to the opponent who bothers to turn up on time.
yeah. Can I also say that in the previous Olympiad, especially one complete team were awarded loss because they just arrived late. It was in the penultimate round. I think it was a morning round or something, and everybody from one team turned up 4 minutes late. Already the kings put in the middle, because they put the kings in the middle to indicate the result. So FIDE has that thing, FIDE says, you know what time you're expected to make your first move, and based on you being there, there's the press who needs to get, otherwise, sponsorship for chess is as to, when Bobby Fischer played chess, why did a million people took up chess? Because of, the press, wasn't it? He said, I need to have my own swimming pool.
But he didn't say no. Lots of game
Yeah.
The other thing is how he's actually going to the Olympiad and it's all being brought forward so he can participate. So you wouldn't have thought, given that's what the regulations are in the Olympiad, that he wouldn't be sending a contribution.
So in the Olympiad, it's not, you won't be allowed to go late. Yeah. So apparently, I've seen in the Olympiad a lot of team captains just making sure all these grandmasters are just ready, and some of them just stay in the hotel like few minutes walk. And this team, which lost all their top 2 games or 3 games, were 2 minutes walk from the hotel. We were staying just right next door.
I mean, for me, I think it's the preparation issue that overrides everything else, particularly these days with engines and databases.
Yeah.
If you see the first move and you're able to put 45 minutes work into a game, something like that, that gives you a massive advantage.
Well, you can still steal your first move if you call it back.
Well, is that true? How many people do that?
No, but the option is yes. You can steal your first move before it's not back.
What, even now?
Yeah,
In the British Championship?
Yeah, but by the time you do that, you've probably lost time on your own part.
Well, what you do is you write a move down and give it to the arbiter.
Okay, it's a controversial issue. I mean, I can accept for the amateur player that you might miss a bus, or you have to go shopping, or your kid starts crying or something, you have to change the nappy. I don't think a whole host of reasons why you might not be able to arrive on time. But I think it has to be the future of chess.
Yeah.
We have to recognise that that there are issues with cheating and with professionalism that have to be addressed.
And that's why FIDE has put the foot down on that. And I think if you get to the venue, let's say 10 minutes earlier, even if you could sit in the cafe area having a drink, nobody's going to come and talk to you because they know you're going to play an important game. But it's just arriving and in the venue, that's what, that's 15 minutes late. It could come back to,
Well, let's carry on with this game because let's not get embroiled in that debate.
D4, E6.
Because that would be taking more time over the moves than they would. Right, okay, so let's see. We're trying to figure out why they only made 8 moves in 1 hour, 15 minutes.
F6.
Well, that's a tough move to face. Right,
Bishop
knight F6.
G5.
The Tory attack. Well, I agree, that could put Black into a fit of terminal depression for these 3 years. You have to play against that move.
H6.
H6, okay.
Bishop H4.
Yes.
And in comes G5. Our is, making it unbalanced.
G3, knight H5. I believe the right move is D6, if I'm not mistaken.
Bishop D3, knight E4.
Knight E4.
Knight BD2.
Hang on. So that's slightly unusual.
Knight E4, knight BD2.
Hang on a sec. Let me play Bishop E5. Let me try and cause a little bit of aggro.
F6.
F6. Okay, Sonny.
D5.
Okay, I've seen enough. Thank you.
And then knight G3 is the sneaky queen G6 check.
I might flick that in. I might not. You'll never know. But it's not automatic just to play some move like knight BD2. Because one of the reasons that I remember that knight H5 was obviously suggested here originally, but I think then white does go here. And so I think from what I recall, black's supposed to play D6 here, and if white wants to preserve his bishop, he's got to go H3. But then black can, make a fist of it. He can play to castle on the queen side. Anyway, knight E4. I can see now what might be eating up a little bit of time here, because Chris might have been thinking a while over bishop E5, mightn't he?
Yeah, but bishop E5. What's wrong with D6? Is it?
Fun?
Oh, sorry, rook is on it.
D6. I'd turn off that open source engine.
So he played knight E4 and then knight BD2.
Yeah, but what's wrong with bishop E5?
Okay, I shall get my monster.
No, no,
with
think
that in a
usual
minute.
1 horsepower special.
D4.
See, I mean, that's a bit inconvenient for black, isn't it? As far as I can see, F6. Well, I suppose I could retreat now, going back into the other line. But it just looks to me as though Queen D3 is right. I don't know. Maybe this is
F6.
enough. F6, yeah. Bishop Queen D3.
D5.
Yeah.
G8.
Well, then you can't castle anymore, can you? You can't castle anymore.
D5. Bishop D3 is it?
Eh?
What do you play now?
Where are we? Queen D3, D5.
Yeah.
Bishop G3, obviously.
Bishop G3, H5.
H5. My goodness me. And if H4? It's got the engine running. That's
G4.
cheating.
Yeah. Knight of D2, now Knight G3. I don't mind Queen D6 check. I'm going to play King D7.
You play it. You play it.
King D7.
All right, he's just played it. I'll take a bit. What's going on here? Okay, I can see why they might be using time trying to evaluate this position because it's completely unclear. I personally like white. That king on D7 looks crazy. What's the king doing?
E7.
King E7.
King E7. Queen G6 check.
All right, so that looks even worse. Is that not true? I mean, to me, this looks bad. Maybe you could go Queen D6 though. And who's inconveniencing who? I don't know.
Knight C6.
Yeah, it's a crazy position, isn't it? I don't know, C3.
I didn't play Queen D6. I'm playing.
Right, we're not going to get involved with this because now we see why they're using time. So Hal spends some time playing this move. Ward plays Knight BD2, presumably after some time. And what did he play now? Black took the bishop.
Yeah, and Knight BD2 played Knight into G3.
Yeah.
H2 takes G3.
Yeah.
And the bishop came to G7.
Yeah. C3.
And he played C3 and he's played B6.
Okay, so it's a fairly standard position.
It's still theory. And B6 is the first move, not in theory, but possibly there might be other games.
Not in theory?
Not in theory.
5 games. Well-known masterpieces like Parado versus Topolovsky, 1997. You any the wiser? Okay, well, black plays B6. It's a normal move. He's going to play Queen E7, Bishop B7, and try and castle on the Queen side.
Okay. So am I right to assume that that here black is going to set up pawn on D6, bishop on B7, knight on D7, queen on E7, castle queen side, and at the right time decide to play E5 or
well,
play.
Maybe. Let me try E4 then. Play your moves.
I think I had to play bishop B7 first.
Okay, Bishop D3,
Then I got to play D6,
D6, Queen E2.
knight D7.
Time for a reception committee.
Um,
And castle, be my guest.
Queen E7, I said.
He's not going to castle. Okay, let's get this knight into the game, lad.
Are you going to castle in the queen side? I mean, are you going to castle queen side?
I'm waiting for you. It's a waiting game. It's a waiting game.
Yeah, I guess so. This is you know, I mean, I'm thinking he should play C5 now.
Yeah, but then okay, it's less attractive to castle on the queen side, isn't it?
Yeah.
But of course, you know, black's very well fortified on the dark square, so he could easily castle short.
Yeah. So it's.
I don't know. It looks to me as though white's a tad better here, really. Theory generally favours white in a position like this. This could come from a Trompowsky, something like this. It looks okay for white, but black's okay too. I mean, sometimes the king can sit quite easily on F8, believe it or not. So anyway, everything to play for there. My impression is that Chris is trying to keep it quite solid.
Yeah.
Have we had any more moves?
No.
I mean, he could easily play incredibly dull chess and just go E3. He could go A4, but I expect E4. All right, let's move on. So Pert versus Williams. Now this has the potential to be a bit of an exciting affair.
Yeah, because I think that, if you see the last 3 games that Sam Williams has played, he's had that cracker of a game against David Howard. Then he was the last man, even the night watchman left. He was the last one there.
Against 10.
Yeah, the reception closed, as I understand. He was still standing out. And
The cleaner handed him the key.
So that must have taken toll on him. And yesterday, I managed to catch a word with Hawkins, and he said, I think he just did not see Queen F4.
Well, he picked up the wrong rook. He admitted that on Twitter later.
Yeah.
He did. You remember he played rook c1, allowing queen takes f4.
Yeah.
He said he actually had a mental breakdown because of the heat and played rook c1 instead of rook c2.
Yeah.
So there we are.
So what, rook c2, was it equal after rook c2, or was he better after that?
I don't know.
But, so picking up the wrong rook and putting on c1. So and after yesterday's game, and I think that he's now against like a brick wall. It's against like a brick wall where Nick Pert is playing white.
So this is a classic game between the irresistible force and the immovable object, isn't it?
Yeah. I think only problem is the immovable object is going to take risks trying to win the game.
What, you think Pert's going to take some risks?
Yeah.
Well, let us see. So he normally opens d4. Is that what we've got?
Title of that suggest.
Great. Go on, let's see the game then. Is it going to be a Dutch? This is what we're waiting for.
Okay.
So
the first move is d4, nf6.
Knight f6, okay.
And nf3.
Knight f3. He didn't play the Dutch.
e6.
That's sad, isn't it?
e6, and then he can shift gears and play c4, b6.
This is how it happened.
Yeah.
So Simon Williams, what is the world coming to? Playing the Queen's Indian defence. This is something else.
c4, b6, a3.
A3, yes, he could have expected
bishop
that.
a6.
Right, attacking the pawn. Queen c2.
Queen c2.
Okay.
c5.
c5, and now
d5.
d5. Yeah.
E takes d5, c takes d5.
Yes.
So my point is that was Nick Pert interested in gambiting that pawn on d5?
Well, it's not a gambit, is
bishop
it?
b7.
It's not a gambit, is it?
No, after bishop b7.
e4, queen e7. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Note, not knight takes d5. That would be very unfortunate.
Yeah.
An early bath for Simon Williams.
So I mean,
But there is a gambit here. So let's see your bishop b7,
yeah.
e4, and now queen e7.
So,
Okay.
and the theory here is bishop d3, knight d5,
Glad somebody knows what we're doing. Bishop d3,
knight into d5,
knight d5, castle.
castle,
Yeah.
and then knight f6,
Do you know this? Obviously you do. Not
Knight
making it up.
knight
It's
c3.
impressive.
And I mean, like, this is the gambit which was quite famous quite a few times, but
This looks ropey for black.
yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I mean, black has to be very patient. He's got this weakness on d5, and I don't know, maybe Nick Pert has prepared that.
Well, I can tell you, with Pert sacrificing a pawn with white pieces on move 7, you can guarantee he's got it prepared. So let's have a look here.
So that's g6, which
Lots of games. G6, D6. No way does black go hunting for that hot pawn. Well, actually, it might be worth just seeing what happens if he does. Has this been played?
Okay.
Yeah, look at the results. Crushing for white. The highest level. Karpov, Lubojevic. Bishop d3, knight takes d5, castles. Has all this been played? Probably been played quite a lot. Only one game. Anyway, the statistics do not favour black. So g6, just getting on with development, turning it into a kind of weird modern Benoni.
Yeah, bishop f4,
Straight away.
straight away, d6,
Okay.
knight c3,
Yep.
bishop g7,
Okay.
competition move.
Right. Now, the last few days, Ravi, as soon as you offer that competition, the guy guesses it first time. And we've had some example of that this afternoon, where by some miracle, a chap guessed the right number of moves. Sorry? No, you can't win more than one prize per afternoon. So is this next move by white worthy of a prize? Hang on a second, just a second, please. Don't peek too soon. How to Crush Your Chess Opponents by Simon Williams will be the prize. Okay, sir. Yes, please.
It's not going to be known well, something like H4, full H4.
H4, is that correct? I take it. What's that?
H4. Who would expect Nick Pert to play H4?
You generate the worst competitions I've ever. Right. Well, apart from the chessboard psycho, how can you justify that?
No. I mean, if you knew Nick Pert, that would be the last move. Huh? No, not a typical move of Nick Pert. So
H4 has been played in the game. Unpronounceable guy with white playing Yordachescu playing black. Well, you certainly deserve that book, sir. You don't seem to need it with some of the moves you suggest.
So H4, H6.
This crush or be crushed. H4. Okay, he's giving Williams a taste of his own medicine, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the sort of move you'd expect Simon to be playing with white.
H6.
Oh, so let's have a look at this. So let's H4, 2 games. One game won by white after B5, and one game won by black after the cool castles. Now, it takes a certain amount of free thinking to castle in this position. H6, new move. Not sure I like it too much.
Yeah, and H4, H6, and then E4. Bishop takes F1 and King takes F1. I've never seen Nick Pert play like that.
Right, okay, so let's have a look at this. All right, well, white's got the obvious idea now of putting his knight on C4, typical modern Benoni. So knight D2, knight C4, A4, easy to see moves for white. Let's flip the board here. That H6 move looks really quite ugly, doesn't it? Okay, let me try A6, Ravi. What are you going to do? Don't fall asleep now, please, before the action starts.
Bishop F1, King F1.
Yep.
He played castle.
No, I don't want to castle. A6.
A6.
Yep.
And I think he's going to go something like G3 and King G2.
You don't think he's going to play
this setup and just completely ignore that?
What about Rook E1 and E5?
Yeah, it's also another possibility.
Just try and blow him out of the water.
Yeah. So black castle, which was a sensible move.
Black castles.
And in comes Rook E1.
In comes Rook E1.
Knight G4.
Out goes Knight G4.
And now Knight B5. I mean, this is like Nick Pert.
Knight B5.
Has never played like that. You see, Knight B5.
Looks like the same type of mistake that Yang Fanzo made. It's like chucking a pawn, isn't it? Has he really got to put his knight on E5 in this position?
Knight B5, and then black played Bishop E5.
Bishop E5?
Yeah. For some reason, he couldn't play Knight E5 for some reason.
Right, well, let's have a look. He can't play Knight E5, you say?
Is it Knight E5, D E5, and then it's bad? Or... No, not with Bishop, of course, Knight.
Knight E5, D takes E5. Is this bad? It doesn't look that great.
No.
All the same, it's a strange decision to give up the bishop, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And when he played Bishop E5, Nick Pert took with the knight, and black had taken with the pawn. And what black is hoping is he's got to hit F5 very soon. So that is the motive of this one.
The computer does not like black's position in either variation.
So what about Bishop G3, F5? You can't play F5, F3, you can play?
I mean, actually, I don't know about you, but that Bishop E5 move, it just looks so bad. All right, so he went Bishop E5. That was taken, I guess, yes?
Knight in D5.
Yes.
D in D5.
Yes.
And white is thinking. The point is, if you pull the bishop back to C1, where you see it's useful, black is going to hit you with F5. And I think you need the knight on C3 to come, and then he's gonna you know, undermine white's center, and I think that one of the way that white is going to solve this problem is the rook is going to come via H3, and that is visualized here. You know, you can see here. You know, it's a question of he's not going to put the bishop on G3 because that blocks off that. He's got to put the bishop. And he must be thinking whether, am I going to put it on D2, or do I need some kind of support for the F2 pawn? and just pull it all the way back to C1. And the point is, after F5, he might just play knight C3.
Well, I mean, let's say I just play normal moves here. Bishop D2. Sorry, I don't see. What are you doing?
F5.
F5, all right, okay. F4. Well, F5 doesn't make me too frightened. F3.
F3, F into E4.
F to E4, Queen to E4. Be careful, Ravi. Or no engine, open source or otherwise, is going to save you.
Okay, so so F5, you think it's F3. Can he go back knight F6? Then he's losing.
He's taking his moves back. He's taking his moves back. Well, Bishop H6 is one move. That doesn't doesn't look too healthy for black. No, this looks ropey for black. This looks ropey. Let's quickly check it on the old machine.
So can I?
Bishop D2, and now either A6 or H5. A6, that looks right. At least it gives black the opportunity to play Rook A7. So we come back. And black's got problems getting his pieces out. That's the problem. He goes H5, rubbishy move. Now we come back to your suggestion, Ravi, Rook H3. The machine likes that. White's just better coordinated, isn't he? He's just got more options, really. So, what has happened? Or Pert's still thinking?
Yeah, Pert's still thinking, and I think it's about where he's going to place his bishop. And if he places the bishop on G3 after F5 and F3, is that playable as well? Does he need the bishop on G3?
The bishop could go to G3, you're quite right. That's also a little bit awkward for black, isn't it?
And black has one tempo where he can play Queen D7, and he can do all this with an extra tempo, but I don't know whether that is useful.
Well, what all this says to me is that Nick Pert should play like this more often.
Yeah.
Because he seems to have established a very good position.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to Fernandez versus Hebden. We don't know quite what to expect from Fernandez. He plays all sorts of strange systems. B3. I doubt he's played E4 or D4. Let us see.
So just to make a point that Fernandez, after he lost to Sarah Williams, he won yesterday and he's bounced back there. And
are we playing guess the first move?
yeah, I want to know what is the first move.
Oh, no, that's two. That's two. You know, these guys have seen the things in the tournament. Come on.
You have seen it in the tournament hall?
There you are. Got
Anyone else in the audience?
No, they must have seen it in the tournament. He's going to play some rubbish like B3 and G3. So come on, then what is it?
B3.
It could be H3. It could be A3. I don't know. That's
He played B3.
B3. There you go. I mean, this is the same. This legacy of playing too much internet blitz. You know.
B3,
Marcus Harvey
E5.
plays B3 as well. E5.
E5, bishop B2, D6.
D6. Okay, that is interesting.
E3, knight F6. I think Hebden is just doing his normal
King's Indian stuff.
And
C4.
C4,
Yeah.
at G6,
Yeah.
D4, bishop G7.
Now, the point of that is that when white takes this pawn, black's going to go knight G4, I think.
Knight G4, and it's going to get back.
Or could he go knight D7? Does that also regain the pawn?
Knight G4 can regain the pawn as well.
Yeah, either of those moves.
So
Bishop G7, what does Fernandez play?
white played knight F3.
Knight F3.
And Hebden takes a chance to close E4, knight D2. And I thought this was bad, closing that structure earlier is quite bad, isn't it? I mean, if you go for the traditional play, Hernandez is going to get something.
Fernandez.
I mean, that E4 move I think is a bit early. So knight D2, and then he castles. Hernandez comes knight C3, rook E8 protecting that, bishop E2, solid development, H5. Otherwise, you know, white was threatening G4 now.
It's like a King's Indian tactic.
Well, it is. It's King's Indian reversed, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a Fischer game that went like this with black.
Yeah, and he
Let's
played
just check
knight
this out. Hang
F5.
on. We check it out. Look. Yeah.
So knight F1, And now Hebden has played c6, so he got knight f1 there, which I think is quite.
So you say after bishop e2,
White
is threatening g4.
So black has to play h5. And if you
And
play
you're probably
h3,
right,
he
yes.
plays h4. That's the main thing.
Right. So h5. What did he do?
h5, he played knight f1.
See, I don't like that.
You don't like
Knight f1.
Yeah, no.
Mystery
It looks
move.
very odd, but I think he's got an idea here because.
What's that?
I'll show you in a minute.
You're just thinking about it now.
No. If black plays h4, he's going to play g4 and then g9, g3. That would be his idea.
What's the idea? To win on time, making obscure moves.
Yeah.
I don't understand that move. Anybody understand it?
So Hebden played knight a6.
Mystery move. Knight f1.
Yeah.
I mean, normally white plays his queen c2, doesn't he?
Yeah, all that stuff is there, but he played knight f1 because he knows his next move is h3 and d4. Black played knight a6.
Yeah.
White plays a3.
Hey?
a3.
a3.
You know,
This is ropey stuff, you know. If Fernandez started playing theory, he'd be a really, really strong player. But he plays all this stuff, you know.
Hebden goes knight c7.
What, perching on top of the pawn? That could be painful.
No, he played c6 before. You missed that point.
Did I?
Knight f1, c6.
Okay, just a minute. c6. Okay.
h3.
h3.
The point I made was if h4, he can go to g4.
Okay.
And now knight a6.
a3.
a3. Knight c7. g4. So this is the point of pushing e4 very early. You know, white can go after that g4. And black played h4, closing the position. And knight goes back to d2, now focusing himself on that. And black plays d5. And he plays b4.
b4.
Yeah, isn't that very similar, the play he had against Hawkins?
What you mean with reverse colours?
Yeah, some kind of reverse curse. And Hebden went knight h7. a4.
Hang on a minute. Knight h7. a4.
a4. And then knight g5. And in comes queen b3. So very similar structure, but you know, Hawkins had the bishop planted on f3. That was the thing. And the difference here is that white has somehow got the g4 and bishop e2. That's the main thing here. So queen b3, d into c4.
Hang on, let's just take a look at this position because it's incredibly odd. What is white actually doing here? Can you enlighten me?
No, I think
That's
will be a private lesson. No, actually,
just what
you
are
know,
your rates? Is about I might take you up on that. I might take you up on that.
So I think what White is trying to do is that, you know, he's played this g4. You know, I used to play this system as White where you wait until black played e4, the kings again attack, and then you castle queen 7 into. And what Fernandez has done is that he started what g4 thematic style, and he says, I got to make it look different every single day, and he's gone a3 and b4, and he just gone for some queenside attack.
I mean, is white going to go c5, block the position, then go b5?
My only question is, has he learned the rules of castling?
I've no idea what I'm
I mean, that would be a thing.
mystified by this play. It doesn't seem either one thing or the other. Sorry?
Has he actually castled once in this tournament?
Who, Fernandez?
Yeah.
An interesting question. Maybe not. Well, I mean, the obvious move to me looks like bishop e6.
Yeah, but I think Hebden played well. D to c4, bishop into c4, bishop e6.
Bishop takes c4. Every
Bishop
move has
e6.
to be given care now.
Yeah.
Bishop e6, yes.
I like black's position now for the simple reason, you know, that knight on g5 is kind of, it's a nice knight on g5, defending the pawn on e4, looking at f3 in future, keeping an eye on the pawn on h3. That's one. Second thing, I can't see any structural problem for black. You know, white, on the other hand, has played a4 and b4. That is bound to show us a weakness later on. And, you know, if he doesn't know the rules of castling, and he's probably going to play king d2 or even king b1 and king c2, you know, he's going to do something like that.
Well, okay, let's have a quick. It's a big audience now. It's built up. There must be at least more than 3 people here anyway. So, who thinks White is going to keep his king in the middle for the next 10 moves? Hands up. Okay, it's roughly 33% of the audience. I can see how this is going to go. Who thinks White's going to cast on the queen side in the next 10 moves or so?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Who thinks that White's going to cast on king's side in the next 10 moves or so? I'm glad to see there's not a single hand up. Okay. Who thinks White's going to run his king to g2, king f1 and king g2? Who thinks he's going to play king d1 and king c2? Who doesn't know what the hell is going on in this position? That's 100% of the audience, including the 2 commentators. Okay, so this is a mystery game. Mystery game. Nobody knows what's going on. Okay. So bishop e6. What next?
White played b5.
b5. He likes pushing pawns, doesn't he?
Yeah. Bishop into c4.
Yeah.
Knight into c4.
Yeah.
Knight f3 check. It doesn't know rules of castling. King f1. Well, then, if you said king f1, king g2, that's what.
I don't think that was an option, was it?
Oh, no. You couldn't go king d1.
Well, bishop takes d4 is looking a bit. You say king up 1. Do you say king f1 or king up?
King f1.
Oh, king f1. Sorry, you'll have
So
to.
king d1 is c5.
Oh, BBC English from you, not this.
King d1 is c5.
Eh?
King d1 would be c5.
I'm not going king d1. That's suicide. So king f1.
And
Go on then.
Knight goes from c7 to d5.
I mean, you know, why would you ever aim for a position like this with White?
And, you know, I mean, he just wants
He's
to
playing
play
into
something.
Hebden's hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's playing right into his hands. I don't know. I don't like this position for White at all.
So he's played rook d1.
Okay, let's verify this. We'll stick on our monster machine here. Yeah. King g2 or rook c1. Clear advantage to black. There's no surprise there. Go on then.
One more move there where he's played rook c8.
No, knight d5 was the last move.
Knight d5.
Yes.
He played rook d1.
Rook where?
Rook a1 to d1.
Rook d1, yes.
And then Hebden played rook c8.
Okay, so now...
And then he plays b into c6, offering to open the file along that for the pawn. I don't know if rook into c6 looks logical, isn't it? I mean, is there a trap for rook into c6?
Well, rook c6 does look logical. Can he get away with queen takes b7?
Queen takes b7, rook takes d4.
Yes, queen takes d5.
Queen d5, queen d5, knight d5, rook c2. Is that something? Well, that bishop is should be okay, yeah.
I think it's okay.
So I think it can black also play bc6 and then put the rook on b8.
Well, I can play knight takes knight, actually. That's the problem with it, isn't it? Knight
So
takes
the
knight.
problem with bc6 is bishop a3.
No, but knight takes c3 is good for black, isn't it? Because he's on the rook at d1. That's the point.
So rook takes 6, queen b7.
I think
knight
he'll
takes,
play rook takes c6.
Knight takes c3.
They can't. Queen take on b7, take on c3 is good for black.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but I want to get my king to g2 if I can. Shall I do that? Let's try king g2. Are you going to do? Can you do something? There could be nasty threats like knight takes knight on c3, and then something like queen to c7, and suddenly you find a piece is dropping off. on the C file.
Yeah. I think if black can play rook into c6, that would definitely be.
Now white's got some issues here, really, isn't he?
So rook c6, queen b7, knight c3, queen into c6, knight into d1. That's winning for you, is it?
Well, okay. Well, what? I'll piece up, right?
Yeah.
King position's in tatters. You try bishop a3. Do you trap the knight? You trapping the knight there? Very unlikely. Queen c8. That'll do.
Queen A5.
Queen c8. Queen c8 looks good. Queen c8. Followed by, if he moves the queen, queen takes knight, and then knight d2 check.
Yeah.
And Fernandez takes up 1e4. Right. So this could be problematic for white, unless we've missed something. Have we missed anything?
The thing is, he hasn't made any move.
Hebden?
Hebden hasn't made any move.
Right, well, we'll leave him with it. Okay, so it looks good for black. All right, back to Hawkins versus Zhu. Now, when we left this, white played knight b5, and we thought that actually Yang Fan had just overlooked this, believe it or not, overlooked the fact that he was losing a pawn. And it sounds naive, but, you know, it could easily be the case. So,
he played bishop g4.
as in that game, there's one game we found with this, and it was an old game by Suba, Adamski versus Suba, which white won. And in that game, white played knight takes c7, very principled move.
Yeah, he played, but Hawkins played h3.
h3.
Bishop.
Now, just a second, let's put that on there. Let's put the engine on for a second. I think that was the engine's first suggestion. It comes round to h3 in the end. There you go, h3 overtakes, knight takes c7. Extraordinary, he plays it. He must be analysing a lot with computers. Go on then, h3, bishop takes knight?
Yeah, h3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3.
Yeah.
c6.
Yeah.
And knight c7 he goes.
Yeah, that is a problem with getting rid of the bishop.
Rook a c8.
Yeah, knight e6.
Knight e6, rook d6.
Yeah.
Knight into g7, king into g7.
And now he takes the pawn.
And now he plays bishop c5 first.
Yeah.
Rook e6.
Okay, is there a point to...
He just wants that rook off the open file. And then now he
No, but I think there's a tactical reason, isn't there? Because if he goes rook d7, don't you go bishop g4?
Yeah, there's a lot
Is that
of
the problem?
possibilities there. So forcing rook to e6, it's looking more likely, you know, he's gonna get this game as well. And
Can
then
I not take this pawn?
What about D2? What D2?
loses the piece on e7.
Well, I mean, if white can't find a move, he could just play rook fd1. I mean, that must be pretty good.
That's exactly what he did.
Just keeping all the advantages. So if he does take this pawn, let's see. Rook e6, bishop takes pawn. Is his bishop getting trapped after c5?
Well, the thing is, he doesn't need to take it straight away, isn't it? So, I mean, why does he need to take and go through that complication? Just leave the bishop on c5 and play rook fd1. This is what he
I think Hawkins is going to win this game. Another one coming up here.
So he played rook fd1.
He's got everything in this position.
Rook f to d1.
Yeah, you said that.
Rook to c7. It looks like, you know, he's arranging pieces
Rook c7.
on the second rank now.
Well, why can't I play bishop takes a7 now?
You can, and bishop a7 is against c5. Why do you want to? You have a fabulous position. Just build it up a bit more. And now Hawkins went b4, getting that extra space.
You could have gone B6 though, couldn't you?
Well, I can save the pawn now, can't I?
Yeah, b6. I think he's possibly going to play bishop e3, and then you know your rook on e6 is quite funny, and it's not going to be easy for those knights to get any good counterplay. He, on the other hand, is just a few moves away from getting some. So he's just playing solid stuff. You know, he doesn't want the pawn. And
So if he takes this pawn,
yeah, c5,
c5.
and then b4, you've got to give a pawn back. You know, he's in such a dominating position. So why do you think he should do that? He's just playing b4 solid. And if you play b6, he'll pull the bishop back. and you know, he can open up A4, A5 later on. So this is quite.
Well, according to the machine, B6 is not so bad for black. B6 and then C5.
Yeah, but I think he shouldn't take bishop A7. I think B6 played now. So
There
the
must have
only
been
move-
some stage in this game where white could have played bishop takes A7.
Yeah, and he's played bishop E3.
Like here.
Yeah, and C5, D5, and then can black collect one of the bishops by playing knight G5?
Hang on, well let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So B4 was played,
B4 was played.
B6,
B6.
bishop E3.
Bishop E3. Can I play knight G5 now? If I can knock out your bishop, I might be very happy there.
Well, I'm going to take the knight.
FG. But I want to play C5 before I do that. Sorry. So can I just go back?
I was just about to play C5 myself.
No, I was going to play C5 earlier, force you to play B5, and then get this exact position.
Right, hang on. So C5.
B5.
Hang on, just a second. I don't know if it's. What if can I take that?
You might take and play rook B1.
That's the idea. Take it. Rook B1. That looks more like it.
Rook A6.
A6. Yep.
You know, there is counterplay.
Then I
now.
just go Rook B2. But there is counterplay. You're right.
Yeah. So should he play C5, B5, and then knight G5 just play bishop G4?
C5, B5. Well, now you can play this move.
Knight
can't you?
G5, bishop G4.
Looks better.
Bishop G4.
Bishop G4. Well,
He's got to play F5.
then the knight hangs.
Take the knight and then play bishop G4.
No, this is good. This is good. This is good.
Then he got rook F6. He's got rook F6. So it's looking quite nicely for Hawkins there. I mean, 59 minutes on the clock. Yang Fanzo is in all sorts of trouble in this game, and if you see that.
Okay, C5 might be advantageous to white.
Yeah,
Hawkins has not played.
Hawkins hasn't played.
Okay.
No, he hasn't played C5 as well. Black is thinking.
Black has not played C5. All right. Well, we're going to have the afternoon break in a few minutes' time.
Okay.
So let's go through the game. So in this one, we think white's a bit better. Two bishops. He's got some chances here, but black can play C5. It might not be too wonderful. Let's have just check on the engine. 1 second, please. So deep Fritz 13, very strong. Only think C5 is 0.32. And it's even coming down the evaluation to almost equality.
Okay.
So moving on to Ward versus Howe, we left this. Not much had happened. 8 moves in 1¼ hours. 45 minutes on. What has happened here?
So C3, B6,
E4,
E3,
E3. He played so
Bishop
boring.
E7,
Oh dear. Yeah.
Bishop D3, D6.
Yeah.
So they just like to play 2 more moves.
That's it.
Yeah.
Why? How can they spend so much time over these moves? I mean, you know. I wouldn't mind if it was stuff that had never been seen before. Maybe they sort of have to wake up to play a move, then fall asleep again for 20 minutes. This position. Sorry?
I think this is the South.
South opening. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I can see something is wrong in the next board. I think
Something's wrong.
the website hasn't updated and it shows he's got 7 minutes left.
Who?
White has 7 minutes left after D5.
Is this Pert versus Williams?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of moves underneath.
Can you refresh? That's not a personal question. That was just about the just about the game. No more moves.
No, it's just loading.
Okay, so Fernandez v Hebden. Any more moves?
After Bishop E3, he did play C5. Sorry, going back to
Bishop. Okay, D takes E5.
hang on a minute. Bishop takes D takes E5. No more moves. 7 minutes on the clock.
Okay, that can't be. It must have something's frozen here. Fernandez v Hebden.
Fernandez, Hebden, still BC6 and he hasn't played anything.
Okay, so this seems a good moment to take the break. 4:30, we'll be back at 5 to 5. Thanks for watching online and here in the audience. We'll see you in 25 minutes. We're still online. I've got to be careful what I say.
I don't know if you set your heart into more.
No, I don't want it. We've got a trust.
Yeah, I think that's for
Well, yes, yes. Guys, we have to ask you to vacate the room. I'm really sorry. Unless you're welcome to stay for the half an hour. We'll stay for half an hour.
Okay, I'm getting coffee. Sorry.
You're not in there. Yeah, just as you go.
Looks like you might have slightly funny. Oh, no. I'm just sort of, because I would take time. Yeah. I returned to work, well, this one, I effectively returned to work, and actually when I got this, was the UVA offered me a permanent contract, which I declined. That's great. And that's his best. I was looking at the time, the way that the local.
Thank you for the drink.
And then I went and told we're watching. Unless you two want to be gossiping away next to one. So when I went
It's not updated.
Wow.
Yeah. It's in my iPad also, it's not available. That is an issue.
Right, well, I think it's time to resume our afternoon commentary. Welcome back if you're listening online, and welcome to our studio audience here in Aberystwyth. Just to let you know that on occasion this afternoon, the website has refused to update the games. So we're going to have some problems with communication. You'll just have to bear with us if that is the case. I hope you're not having too many problems online. But
Live boards 3 and 4 down.
live boards 3 and 4 are down. That is not very good news, Jack Rudd's informed us. All right, well, I did see at least one move played in the game, Fernandez versus Hebden, during the break. And Hebden decided to take back with a pawn. We left it with white having captured on c6, and we were thinking about rook takes c6, but just checking this with the engine, it appears that knight e5 keeps the disadvantage for white to a minimum, because white's attacking this knight on d5 and beyond that f7. So Hebden decided to take back with the pawn, And now we're waiting for Fernandez to move. Any more moves on that game?
No, I can't see anything on the website. I'm just going back, refreshing. But I know the position in
Hawkins? How about Hawkins Zoo? We got any moves there?
Yeah, Hawkins.
We left it after Bishop E3 and Black was about to play C5, I
He
think.
did play C5.
And then we
I
thought
saw
takes,
D6.
rook B1.
Rook AB1, knight D6.
Okay, this is the
And
game.
then, yeah, and then he played rook D to C1.
Well, of course, knight D6 attacks the pawn on C4. It's probably got to be protected. He doesn't really want to deactivate the rook like that. But on the other hand, White might be thinking about Bishop G4 here. Trying to force back to weaken his pawn structure. So I imagine not much has changed. White is still holding some sort of small edge here. But Black's doing his best to minimise the disadvantage.
Okay, suddenly we got the website updated.
Okay. 27 move by Black.
Knight D to C8.
E to C8. So Black's thinking about putting his knight on B6,
And then
attacking the
rook
pawn.
Rook C2.
Yep.
Knight B6.
Yep.
Rook B to C1.
Yep.
King F7. In what looks like a massive advantage for, you know, for White is he's got two bishop advantage, and you know the only thing is that he can't redeploy the bishop onto D3, which is what he wants, which will free his rooks. So I can see that he's you know, but neither of Black rooks can get to the open file. So it's about who is going to be able to free that bishop. If White can somehow free that bishop and get to D3, and then his king can march up, and then if that is some improvement, then his rooks can shift to the open file.
Well, let me try then. One way you can try to do this. I'm going to try H4.
Well, he played G3 straight away. I mean, I'm saying he's going for that kind of setup.
I see.
How are you going to free your bishop on F3?
Well, I wanted to play G3 and then Bishop G4, and maybe F3.
Okay.
And then
So he's played G3 straight away,
so G3 straight away.
and then Black has played Rook to E8.
Yep.
White needs a plan here, does he?
Well, he's trying to get his pawns going, so I imagine he'll play something like Bishop G2.
But then what is your plan? Black is going to get onto the open file, Rook to B8.
Well, it's not open yet, is it?
No, but that's it. I mean, White's position has suddenly become very stale, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so Black can play Rook B8, and then he can release his knight to D7, and you still have the problem of that weak pawn on E4.
Okay, well, I'll protect it. I don't like it being weak.
Okay, and you just play knight to D7,
Just knight D7, the man
and then
says.
you've got to get bishop F1.
Rook D1.
Rook D1, Rook A3, and I prefer
Pardon?
Black. Already I prefer Black.
Rook where? Your rook knight's on pre.
Sorry. Yeah, King E7.
Okay. H4.
I think something will happen on the.
Is it so easy? This looks like quite a good pawn structure for White. You can play Bishop H3 and double up.
So he just played G3, and Black played Rook E8, and he just played Bishop G2.
Yeah.
And I can see he wants to play F3, secure that pawn, and then put the bishop back to F1. And
Or maybe H4 and then Bishop F1, come back to the D file. So White's trying to configure his pawns on the king side in the optimal way. It looks like F3, keeping the pawn protected, and then H4 is the way. When he's bishop, and maybe the bishop can come back to F1.
no, I think the bishop.
Then White can move his rooks.
No, I think the bishop is going to come back to F1 to protect the C4 pawn, which then frees the rook to go onto the D line. It's quite a tense match. It looked very easy, and that's why I think Knight C7 should have been played, isn't it?
Well, wasn't there a time when a moment where Hawkins missed Bishop takes G7? Where was it? It was somewhere around here. if we just check this, there was some moment where he could take on A7. Was it here? It could have been here. And he didn't do that.
And this looks like it's going to end in a draw. Yang Fanzo is not going to. He's got out of the trouble now. He's got these two knights.
So what's the position?
The position is bishop. Pawn is black on F2.
Yeah.
He's played bishop G2 and black is 3.
Right. Yeah, it does look difficult for white to make progress, but I think he's going to play F3, H4, bishop F1, and then because what is black doing? That's the thing. Black's not doing very much.
Right. Let me try now. A straightforward method. You played bishop G2. I'm going to play rook to B8.
Rook B8. All right. F3.
Right. I'm going to play knight to C8.
Which one?
Knight B to C8.
Knight B to C8. All right. It's time to tie that piece down. So rook D1.
Rook D1. Can I play rook B4?
Rook B4. I was hoping you wouldn't do that, but you've done it. Bishop F1.
Rook A4.
Rook A4. H4 maybe.
King E6.
King E7 probably.
King E6.
That runs into bishop H3 check. You don't care.
Yeah, okay.
I think you should care.
So King E7 is rook.
Well, rook D5. I mean, why is this not?
So I don't want to play King E7. I want to play King E6. And then bishop S3 check. I can
No,
play
no,
F5.
no. We'll keep that.
Rook
In.
B5. Okay. Knight B6. And then you take 1 C5. Okay.
Take my pawn.
So he's got rook B8 now. Yang Fanzo has played rook B8. He knows he's going to.
It looks a little bit better for white, I have to say. However much you sort of jazz it up, it still looks better for white.
And I think that game is probably going to end in a draw. So Yang Fanzo is going to be the first person to take a draw off. Hawkins.
Well, maybe. I think it's unclear, isn't it? There's plenty of play left.
But I mean, if there are, so that rook B8 and white is thinking.
We expect F3. Yes. Yeah. Well, this is
board number 2.
not a lot happening and happening very slowly. It's extraordinary the amount of time they're spending on these routine moves.
Okay. We've just been informed by the technical team that boards 3 and 4 have failed. That means is that a manual input going to happen later on?
I'm trying to do a manual input on board on both of those boards as we speak, or as fast as I can.
The technical input.
Keying the moves in directly into the computer.
Okay.
Okay. So we left when white had the bishop on D3, black played D6, and white played G4.
Yeah, he's trying to fix the black pawn structure. There's a square on H5 for a knight. This knight could easily come to H5. Yeah. There are 2 routes via F1.
Yeah, black played
or via E4. Hang on a sec. Let me finish here. And yeah, black's move F5 is dissuaded too. So what did black play? Knight D7.
Knight D7, and then he went knight E4. Similar route to go to G3. And then black played the general move Queen E7.
So they spend how much time have they spent on these moves? It's insane, Insane.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought now knight G3 was forced because.
Well, Queen E2 is also a move, isn't it?
Yeah, he played Queen C2.
Queen C2.
Yeah,
that's slightly unusual.
Played H5.
That's slightly unusual.
He's sacrificing the pawn on G5, and I think that was a crucial moment that he should have put the knight back to G3. Then the knight going to H5 was a good prospect.
No, but he's going to go knight F6 then, isn't he? Knight F6, that's the idea. Then you're going to go knight H5 and take with the rook.
Yeah, I think this should favour.
It looks a bit stodgy. It looks like it favours nobody. Quick handshake.
So black played H5.
Right. So are you saying you think white has made a mistake?
Yeah. I mean, allowing that h5 is definitely.
Yeah, this deployment of the queen to c2 also is a little bit weird. I mean, normally white puts his queen on e2 with the idea of maybe playing bishop h6 at some point, bishop a6. Of course, he's got to move his knight first, but that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
But the way White's played it is like he's keeping this structure. He's got a structure play. He keeps it rock solid and hopes that something will turn up. Maybe he's trying to lure David Howell into time trouble. I don't know. So he played queen to c2, and now Black played suddenly a very sharp move h5. Wow. Okay.
So h5, he's thinking now. 22 minutes left on his clock, and Howell has 32 minutes left on his clock. We have a few more moves before this breakdown, so if we can get those moves.
All right. Come back to that in a minute.
So what happened? What I've seen was
Which game are we talking about?
Pert against Williams.
Okay.
So we were when Black played d5.
Yes.
He did go bishop c1, and Black played a6, knight c3. He played h5. White played f3, and the knight, as I saw just now, knight was back on f6, and then after a couple of moves, you could see the queen is on d6 and the rook is on e8. So possibly knight f6 played now, and White played bishop h6.
Is that definite?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I saw. That's what I saw.
Okay.
I can go in check.
Rook e8.
Rook e8, and the next thing I saw is Pert has played a move now, and
Well, we can't second guess it. Anybody know what the move is?
so f3, 18 f3. So let me go and write down the moves and come back, because that might help.
Okay, this is a bit annoying, of course. Well, I mean, the assessment that White is a little bit better must stand. I mean, I presume that one of the things Black is trying to do, or that White interrupted, was to maybe reroute this knight to d6. Quite difficult because he's got to cope with his rook. So why isn't White just a bit better here? Well, he is. He is. Black is feeling the lack of his bishop on g7 because he's got the typical Benoni pawn majority on the queen side, but well, the thing is that it's not really a typical Benoni, because Black hasn't got a dark square bishop.
Yeah.
So you know, you've always got to worry about mate. That's the issue. And whilst you've got this problem on the king side, you can't really do very much. So I don't know. I think White's got a pretty substantial advantage here. Let's see if the engine agrees. Okay, it says +1. That's pretty big at this level. You know, we're talking about players who can take a +1 advantage and turn it into victory effortlessly. So yes, you could do that. You could definitely do that. And White's got a number of plans. I mean, one of the first things he could do is just to connect his pieces. And then he can choose between what he wants to do. Black is going to feel the absence of his bishop, that's for sure. It's not really a Williams position as such, because it's hard to see how he's going to get active play. Williams is always looking for active play. Where's Black's play coming from? That's what I'm worried about. Well, I'm going to wait for the moves, because if we try and second guess, it's going to be really difficult. Right, so without Ravi, it's going to be an interesting piece of improvisation here. I might have to make up all 4 games, and we'll draw them to a rapid conclusion. Right, so Hebden did not take with the rook; he took with the pawn. Now, when we left this, we didn't like Fernandez's position one little bit, but it might not be too bad. Well, anybody know what White played here? I'm looking at White's position. It doesn't look that great. let's see what we've got. We'll see if I can get something going. This is why you need two people. In the old days, when you got the demonstration boards, stand up, you know, and a runner, it was much easier. This, eh? Well, actually, it worked better in my opinion. So there we are. This is tricky to negotiate. Anybody know what was played in this game? No. Okay, so we've got some more moves in Hawkins versus Yang Fanzu. All right, so we go back to that. We'll go back to the games I can actually control. So in this position, black played rook b8. White played f3, just arranging the kingside pawns to his design. Black played knight d7. As soon as that knight moves away, white can move his rooks. So he played rook d2. Black played king e7, nothing unexpected now, and just bishop f1. So nothing at all unexpected has happened here. White is still keeping his edge. And I imagine he'll think about playing h4 in a minute, just to give himself the option of bishop h3. Having said that, how does white win? You know, this is the issue, because black's position is pretty solid. The knights are a bit loose somehow. So maybe white's got ideas now of rook to d5 or doubling rooks or h4. For black, it's hard to see corresponding ideas.
Black got time to go 98, g7, 3, 6, d4.
Well, that's what he'd like to do. As soon as you move your knight, I think I'm coming in with rook d5. That's why possibly, I think back in this position, it might have been, where are we? No, not, where are we? There was a position where his rooks doubled up. Something like this. I wonder whether here it might not have been better to go rook d1. Rather than rook d2, so that when you move your rook up to d5, you're not allowing the black rook into b2. No, just a thought. So rook d2, and Yang Fan played rook b4. Okay, no, it can't be right, can it? Rook d2, king e7, sorry. Bishop f1, excuse me. And now rook b4. Okay, so that's it. So he's black threatening knight b6 again. Yeah, I mean, that's the standout move, isn't it? Put the rook on d5. Yes, rook cd1 is also possible. There's a nice tactic here. If he takes on c4, we can go rook takes d7 check, and then take on c5. So just because black attacks that pawn, it doesn't mean that it's going to fall. Yeah, well, the impression that white's still holding an upper hand, you know, is evident. And in fact, after rook b4, well done. Was that Jack who suggested rook cd1? Good. Give Jack a round of applause. We're going to give him a prize. Well done. What would you like? How about a video? Do you watch videos? Chess videos? How about the Ultimate Chess Strategy book?
That's good.
By two authors who I've never heard of. Okay, rook cd1. Yeah, so basically Hawk is setting that little trap. Well, Ravi seems to have disappeared. I have no idea where he's gone. So have any more moves been played in Ward versus Howe? These two are proceeding at funereal pace, for reasons best known to themselves. And black has finally decided to spice things up with h5. Ward took on h5 with his rook. Rook takes h5, g takes h5, and now Howe pushes on with g4. And that's the position. Right, well, first thought here, what about knight fd2? And now if black wants to regain his pawn, he's probably got to go f5. I drop back, you take here, and now I just need a good move. Simple as that. Of course, failing all else, I can castle on the queen side. Unlike Fernandez, I can remember how to castle. Is this so bad? Another move, I suppose, is e4, isn't it? Well, that's going to have to be carefully judged, as black can play f4. So g4, Ward is thinking, he must be very short of time now. What's the Ravi's back now?
Yeah,
what's the time situation?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's quite intense. Although we don't have the moves, Nick Pert sacrificed a piece, and he seems to have 4 to 5 points.
Sounds like the sort of game you really need the move to describe.
Yeah, so I have a few moves here. If we go back to Nick Pert against Simon Williams.
Yep. I've got 20 king f2, 19 rook e8.
19 rook e8.
Yep.
That doesn't seem right. So f3.
Yep.
Knight f6.
Yes.
Bishop g5.
Okay, you didn't play bishop h6 then.
No, queen d6.
Right, so hang on a minute. So I don't think the assessment of this position has changed. Black is suffering a bit because he hasn't got any dark square control around his king.
Yep.
Queen to d6, not ideal.
Yeah, and white played queen a4.
That's a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, knight to h7.
Okay, can you explain why he plays queen a4? Is there some reason for that? Just eludes me, you know.
So
Because you think he'd want to play a4, wouldn't you? And then
yeah,
maneuver this knight round to c4 as quickly as possible.
yeah, I think the principal problem there is the rook on h1. How are you going to get him into play?
Well, I can go rook h3, can't I?
Yeah,
Rook g3 if I need to.
and knight h7, bishop e3. F5.
So, but how does queen a4 solve the problem of the rook on h1? You're going to have to talk me through this.
Doesn't.
Okay.
I don't know why he played queen a4. Maybe he just wants to discourage b5. Maybe he wants to play knight b5.
Maybe he wants to play b4.
We will find out in the ensuing play.
So f5 was played.
Well, no, f5 can't be played. Not queen a4, move 20.
Queen a4, knight h7.
Okay.
Bishop went back to e3.
So there's no mileage in flicking this move in to displace the rook.
No. And then he played black.
All right, I'll take that as I find it. Bishop e3.
Bishop e3, f5.
f5. Williams always has to do something, doesn't he?
Yeah, he played bishop h6.
All right, I just need to think about this.
Bishop e3, f5, bishop h6.
What's the difference apart from the rook can come to f7? Is he going to put the queen in?
Yeah.
The queen's coming into e8, is it?
They played rook d8.
Bishop h6. So he doesn't like rook f7 because of what? Is queen f8 winning or what? Queen e8?
Yeah.
Knight f8?
Yeah.
GF. I'm attacking the bishop. The bishop's on pre. Ah, yes. I was waiting for somebody to see that. I'm just waiting. Waiting for it. Yes, and e5's attacked.
So, in fact, he played rook d8. He didn't go.
Well, he can't lift control of the back rank, can he?
Okay.
Yes.
Rook d8,
Yes.
and then Pert played queen c2 back.
That queen a4 move is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? But I suppose things have changed. Yes.
Queen c2, rook e8.
Yes.
In comes rook h3.
Sorry, and if takes on f5, the bishop is on pre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then he played queen c2, rook e8, and then white played rook h3, and then black played the strange rook a7, connecting the rook along the 7th rank, and Pert took on f5, g takes f5, and then put rook g3 check, king h8, and now piece sacrifice with queen at f5. So he's just calculated this. He's going to win about 4 pawns, and black pieces are going to leave. Then that knight on b8 and the rook on a7 is probably not going to be able to come out.
Well, I mean, as I say, I think we've reached a position where you you can't really afford to play f5.
Yeah.
You know, Simon Williams, he just has to do something. It looks to me, let's have a look at it from the other side. I mean, you got that terrible queen blockading on d6, a wide open king. It just looks as though this plays right into White's hands. Unless Simon is just taking a clear risk in order to try and win the game, you know?
So queen takes h6, rook g6.
Okay, hang on. So queen takes h6, he's got to take that.
Yeah, rook g6.
Yes.
Now queen to f8.
Yes.
And white put queen on h5. So the point he's making is he's got to get knight e4, knight g5, number one. That's a major threat black has to solve. And he's also threatening rook h6. And then if the queen is overloaded between the knight and the rook on e8, he's going to do that.
Well, I'm also threatening rook takes e5.
Yeah, you're also threatening rook takes e5, which is kind of quite a tricky thing, isn't it? What does the mechanical monster say?
Let me try and figure it out for myself first. It just looks so hard for black to formulate a defence. I mean, he's already got 2 pawns for the piece, right? He's probably going to get a third.
2 pawns for the piece. The major problem is knight e4 is going to come in.
Let's go back to bishop e3. I want to see what the monster feels about this, because I don't think f5 is a great move. The monster doesn't want to run. Is it alive elsewhere? Did I? Okay, well that's because it's hot in here. It doesn't like black's position at all. So if we rerun to bishop e3, f5, yeah, it goes downhill, you see? It goes downhill dramatically after that move. You have to try and keep it tight with knight f6 or rook c8. Yeah, he's just got to a position where stylistically he just hates position. Yeah. And now this piece sack is just good. Not necessary, but maybe against Simon it's a good idea to force him onto the defensive. Well, okay, so he's giving knight d7 as the best defence, knight e4, and then rook e7.
So knight d7 played, knight d4 played.
Huh?
In the game.
Right.
And now, you know, the problem is that that rook on g6 is quite active. And is there a possibility that, you know, if black is caught in some kind of a defensive huddle, can he play king f2, rook h1, rook h3, and rook g3? Is that an idea for that?
I think the main idea is just to take the pawn on e5 at the right moment, because what is black going to play in this position?
I think there's all sorts of moves coming in. One is d6 could be another important idea as well.
For instance, if he goes rook e7 and white goes knight g5 and black plays knight df6, can we take on h7?
So once you play knight e4, is white's threat now to play rook h6?
No, the threat's knight g5, as you said.
Knight g5, rook e7?
Well, black's got to find a move first. I played knight e4. What's black's move? We take it move by move.
So knight e4, you are playing
Knight g5, I presume.
But black has one move here. What is he going to do?
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
So can he play c4? Because we get knight c5.
c4. That looks irrelevant. Sorry to be rude. Knight g5.
Rook e7.
E7, the man says. Well, now there should be some nasty business. How do we do this?
I think white.
Well, I could play knight e6 if I wanted to, couldn't I?
So do you expect this to be a win for Pert?
I think they've reached a position where Simon will feel more uncomfortable than Nick Pert. So Williams is still thinking after 94.
Yeah.
Because your C4 move was kind of like a pass move, wasn't it? A constructive
Yeah,
pass.
I don't have any other move. I mean,
Yeah, then knight G5. Knight G5.
Rook G7.
No, Rook G7, Knight E6. That's painful.
So Rook E7, Knight G5. That's the main problem. Takes away Rook E7.
And if Knight DF6.
Aha! Rook E7, Knight G5, Knight D to F6. So you got, have you got Rook at F6?
Knight DF6, is that the game? Now Knight takes H7.
I got to play Rook at H7.
Then the Queen takes E5.
It looks quite tricky, isn't it? I mean,
For tricky, substitute uncomfortable. It's horrible though. G3, I just sit on you with the pawns.
okay.
So any more moves?
No, this is being manually updated. There might be even more moves.
Why do those boards go down? Okay, so Knight E4, we're still waiting. Any moves in Fernandez Hebden?
Fernandez said yes.
All right, B takes C6, 23 was the last move.
Okay, there's a lot of moves after that.
Good.
23, B takes C6. B takes C6, Knight into C3.
No, it's
Black didn't
white.
play B into C6. Black played Knight into C3.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Bishop into C3.
Yeah.
Queen D5.
He didn't take on C6.
No, Queen D5 making a pin.
Okay.
Knight A5.
Yes.
B into C6.
Yeah.
King G2 out of that place. Bishop F8. Rook B1. Rook E6. Queen C4. Bishop D6. Rook HC1. Bishop A3. And Rook H1 back. And then played Rook C.
Well, I think he's got to go back to H1 because Black was maybe thinking about Queen D6 and then coming on H2.
Yeah.
So he had to do that.
And he's reluctant to take on D5, isn't it? To allow that.
Yeah, that would reconnect Black's pawns, wouldn't it?
So Black played Rook C7, White played Rook B8 check, King H7, Queen B3 back, Bishop E7 back, Rook to E8, Bishop to D8, and now Queen times D5, C times D5, Rook takes D8, Rook takes C3,
Hang
Rook
on.
takes
Hang
D5,
on. Yeah.
Rook takes D5,
Yeah.
Rook C2,
Yeah.
Knight B3, Rook B6. That's the Persian game version. And Hebden is, what is Hebden threatening here? He's lost the pawn, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's threatening Rook to B2 if the knight moves.
And Rook F1, can I defend it by Rook F1?
The knight's on pre.
I mean, if I
You
play,
could bring in, let's say you play knight E4,
yeah,
knight C5.
and then Rook B to B2.
Can I take on E5?
Hmm?
Can I take on E4?
Yeah, then it looks, he has played Knight C5, and Black has played F5 now.
F5, wow.
And it's kind of complicated struggle. I think somehow, I think Fernandez is going to come on top of this. I mean, he seems to have a.
But how did he do it? Around these parts, his position was looking quite ropey. So Hebden played knight takes C3, okay, retaining his advantage, keeping the advantage. Black is still better. Where did it all go wrong? Around these parts, his advantage is coming down. So around the part, there was a bit of fiddling around there on the queen side. F5. First thought is, why can't I take it? Is there some problem with that? Is there some check on G6? So takes, rook here, king F1, rook check.
Yeah.
Right, so we can't do that.
So he's played F5, and what happens if he takes on F5? That's what you just demonstrated.
Yes.
Oh,
Of course, the computer would suggest the extraordinary move, knight D3. And there's also a more human move after rook D7 check.
And I think, you know, the way the game has gone, the middle game has gone much better and better for white, isn't it? I mean, he's just got an end game where he can grind them down.
Do you think so? Is it really that easy? It says equal here.
So, a couple more moves in that exciting game of Nick Pert, if you want to bounce back to that.
Okay, go ahead.
And he did play rook E7.
Yes.
And now he's played knight D6.
Knight D6.
Yeah. And I think that knight D7 to F6 is possibly going to play, I don't know, queen F5 or something like that. And
when he plays that move,
no, he can't play that knight D6. So knight F6, is he got to play rook F6 or something like that, or what? So knight F6 now, what is he going to do? It's probably queen F5 because the rook is in the way.
Queen F5. Can I even take the pawn on D5? Is that suicidal? Is that totally suicidal?
I think now knight df6 could be possibly only moves queen f5. So you know, this is just moves updated by one of the control team members going and seeing the moves and just looking at the position and guessing the moves and then coming back and just updating it. I think when we move,
well, according to the computer, this is a mistake. Knight d6.
Yeah.
Why should play knight g5, keeping on the pressure?
So what?
Or rook h6. Knight d6, according to this, knight df6 is already better for black.
Yeah.
And if queen f5, we can take that pawn on d5.
Yeah, that looks quite
tempting.
But however, this may not be the move as well, isn't it? Because this could be just
well,
one.
You don't trust the updater.
I don't know yet.
It is a crazy. You're going off. Okay, this is nothing's all right. I'm used to it.
That's the only way.
See you in a couple of hours, Ravi. All right, so knight e4, rook e7. That looks like the most tenacious move, and this move, knight d6, is apparently a mistake because of knight df6. Let's take a look at knight g5. The difference being that if he goes knight df6, we can take on h7. And now it's not quite so easy. You can take with the knight. And then I think we can just take on e5 with the rook. We're going to get that pawn, the third pawn. That's the point of this line. And if he goes rook takes h7, then we take on e5 with the queen. And if he goes rook e7, then I think we can take on f6. That's the idea. So knight d6, it looks like it could be a mistake if that is the actual move played. I should just mention to the audience on the internet that some of the live boards have gone down, which is making life a bit tricky. So that's the position as it stands, and it looks as though black comes right back into this game with knight df6. Okay, so let's see what we can do now. It's going to be tricky, but there we are. Hawkins versus Yang Fanzo. We'll go back. Right, there's definitely been some action here. So when we left it, 35 rook cd1 had been played. Black played rook b6, just kind of marking time, really. And white now played a slightly surprising move, g4. We expected h4, opening up some perspectives for the bishop. g4, what's his idea? He goes h4 and g5, is that the idea? Trying to soften up black's pawn structure? The impression that white is better, you know, is still there. Better coordination. He can toy with the idea of putting his rook on d5. Maybe his idea is just to go h4, g5, and then put the bishop on h3. So what did Yang Fan do? He blocked the position with g5. Every pawn move that black makes, I think, makes his position worse. I mean, I can see why he does it. If white gives him time, blocks positions favour the knights, then black could easily end up with a knight here. But so how many moves does it take? 1, 2, 3. Well, white's never going to allow him time like that, because as soon as he moves that knight, white's going to be in on d5 like a shot.
So white played h4 there.
Yeah, h4, not surprising, trying to break
h6,
in. Yeah.
h5.
Yeah.
H takes e5, and now rook h2.
Rook h2. So there we are, switching perspectives.
So what is the threat now? Is he playing rook?
Well, he's thinking about check, isn't he? Improving his position. Because how can black improve his position? That's what they do, you know. They can't see an active plan. They can't see really how to go forward. They just improve their position. Small improvements, move by move. Maybe there is no threat, but I think white is probably nursing still this slight edge. We hit the computer, it will show 0.5, I'm just guessing. Not even that. Nominal edge for white. But you know, these positions are quite uncomfortable to defend, because the guy can keep playing, and you have to keep playing accurate moves. So it's easier for white to play than black. Any more moves? Is that it?
No.
That could be a long one, unless they decide to shake hands. Right, okay, Ward Howe. So the last move I had was g4. Well, I expected Chris just to move his knight, let black take on g2.
Knight
f d2.
Knight f d2.
Yes.
f5, knight g3.
Okay.
Bishop g2, queen a4.
So he didn't castle and he didn't go e4. He played queen a4 instead.
a6.
a6.
Yeah, and about 10 minutes left for white and about 18 minutes left for black. And I think this is getting crucial. But do we prefer black here, because he's kind of opened up the bishop?
I think I have to prefer white, I have to say. Let's try e4. What about e4?
e4.
Yeah, with the idea maybe of queen c6.
Yeah, I think I have to play f4, isn't it?
f4. Okay, should we come in? Not sure about that. We'll give it a try.
I guess I had to play something like rook d8.
Rook b8 or rook d8?
Rook d8.
Rook b8, let's say. Okay, move the knight.
Also, you're going to win the pawn on c7 as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a bit awkward, isn't it? I want to put that queen on c6. You could have gone rook c8, I suppose, but that doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
Well, can I play... Oh, bishop a6, yeah, of course.
So
okay, so then you've got to go rook a7. All right, so rook a7, we're defending everything. Okay, knight e2. It looks slightly better for white, I have to say, but I don't know. I don't know. That bishop on g2, is it good or bad? If black plays f3, is that bishop out of play or in play?
I think
bishop h6.
I think one of the prime things is that
castles.
Yeah, that thing is left on. You just castle now, is it?
Yes.
And
very unclear. Will be interesting to see a time scramble here, won't it?
There's been a few more moves there.
All right.
As he played long castle,
Sorry, instead of e4.
Instead of e4, he played long castle.
Yep.
And black played b5 to block.
Powell's really taking some risks here, isn't he?
Yeah. And for e4, can't he do the same thing? What was wrong? Oh, he got bishop into b5 then. I think he's just played the b5 to take the queen away, and he might long castle as well, isn't it?
All right, queen c2.
And I think
Because the bishop on g2 protects the rook. I might be sacrificing a piece on f5 in a minute. In true Pert style. Except it's a different game. Okay, queen c2, what do you do?
yeah, I agree. This is quite.
And then sack a piece on f5.
Yeah.
I'll probably get 3 pawns actually. At b5, it makes castling on the queen side look too risky.
Yeah.
It's very unclear. It's completely unclear. I mean, Black would like to be able to round up this pawn. I mean, that's what he was hoping for. But this sack is possible. Any more moves? Is that it?
No.
So they're both running into severe time trouble here. I don't know what's going to happen in that game. Right, Pert versus Williams. The tables could be turning here. The tables could be turning.
Yeah, knight d6.
Knight d6, knight df6, yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Nothing else. It doesn't show anything. It's not being updated.
So annoying.
When I just went in, I did see knight on d6. So Sam Williams hasn't played the move.
This is so annoying because this is a big game, isn't it?
So we have one more move in Chris Ward. If you want, he's played just queen a5. He hasn't retreated. Queen c2. He's just gone queen a5. So making sure that the black pawns are all, under observation by the queen, and interestingly, I think we are going to expect knight b6 from black. And then he could always go rook g1 and then e4 and breaks like that.
Yeah.
So queen a5 played there. That's one more move which is updated automatically.
Fernandez, Hebden?
And then in Hebden game there are a few more moves.
Go on then. f5 was the last move.
f5 was the last move. Then rook d7.
Yep.
King h6.
Yep.
Rook a7.
Yep.
Rook bb2.
Yes.
Rook f1.
Yep.
So.
Well, hasn't got black got to draw straight away by playing knight d2?
Yeah, knight d2 and knight f3 he can make a draw. But is there more than a draw? Can he play knight d2 here? Knight d2.
That's what I was suggesting.
Knight d2, and he's got to play rook d1, and then now knight c4, threatening knight and d3 cheapo to the left.
Well, it's not cheapo, is it? That's a serious threat.
Yeah. So rook f1, and then it's moon of 41. Lots of time for both players. I don't think we can expect Hebden to make any move. Just.
I don't know. Hebden moves pretty quickly. Where? Yeah, knight e6 is interesting, Ravi, threatening mate.
Knight d2,
Threatens-
and he plays knight e6, is it?
Threatens mate in 2 moves.
And if I play
It's
g5,
got to be g5. Knight f8 threatens mate. What about that? How'd you get out of that?
You should have played knight e1 check.
That's interesting, isn't it? That forces mate, doesn't it? Incredibly. Very nice. So going back to here, somebody's suggesting knight e, some wizzo tactician.
that's a draw, isn't it?
Why draw?
I think.
There's a draw by perpetual by the black rook, by the rook. No, no draw. King H1. Why should I give a draw? What do you do? You taking this? Take it. Take it. Here. Then you get mated first.
Take on G4.
Take on G4. What a spoiled sport.
Let's get mated first.
Yeah, this is good enough though. This. Oh my goodness. Who mate who? Yes, well, this is going to be very interesting now. Very interesting indeed. So it looks like knight E1 check is the move. And after that, does white now have to play king G1, maintaining protection to the pawn, and then black goes back. But then white can't play king H1 then because we take on F2 and we're threatening mate. So maybe this game ends in a draw. Knight D2, knight E6. Do you take this first? Now take the rook. Get out of that. Oh yeah, G5 check first. Let's go G5 check first. That's nice, isn't it? Very nice. So Hebden's still thinking?
Hebden's still thinking. Well, we have a few moves.
So we could get some study-like motifs there.
Okay, so there's a few more moves in Nicholas Pert's game. So he played knight df6.
He played knight df6. Okay, so the computer thinks black is getting on top.
Queen f5.
Yes.
Knight d5.
Yes.
Queen into f8.
Yeah.
Knight into f8. Rook h6 check. King g8 and knight c8.
Well, can I first play rook h7?
Rook h7.
Yeah.
Rook h7. Rook takes e5. Played in the game. Knight f4 and white's thinking.
So black's a piece up now.
Yeah.
For 2 pawns.
Knight b6.
Right, we can get a third pawn. Can he take this? C5 pawn's dropping. Then knight c4. Yeah, well, okay, this looks pretty equal. I have to say, this looks as though it's going to burn out something. Yeah, you can take on h4, then I guess we can take this. Well, no, we can't. We can't do that because of check. Okay, knight f4, is that it? Any more moves?
Yes, no more moves.
Right. Very interesting stuff.
In Chris Ward's game.
Yeah. So Queen A5 was played, attacking the
Knight
pawn.
B6 only move, protecting A8. E4 breakthrough. Black has played F4, and I think white is thinking now whether to go knight E2 or knight H1. And knight E2 seems to be the key idea there.
These pieces are on extremely odd squares, aren't they? I don't know, is rook G1 a third move? Is that another move? Rook G1?
Knight E2 played in the game.
Right, well I suppose when you've got about 5 minutes left for 20 moves, then you know these decisions are quite difficult to make. But rook G1, was there anything wrong with that?
I think the main idea is that the rook G1 is it bishop H3, forcing bishop H3.
Or no, you take everything and then end up with Queen H4.
Yes. All right, so he played knight E2.
Bishop h6 played.
Yeah, that was always going to be the issue, and I imagine he'll play king c2 without giving it too much thought.
So what is black's problem in essential? Is it?
Well, his bishop could get cut off, couldn't it? That is a problem.
That's what.
It could be in play or out of play.
So is he a move short of getting king d7 and rook something out? Is that what he's going to try to do? Put the king on d7 and do that. So can white now break c4 at the right moment? That's another question, isn't it? But he definitely doesn't want to stay in the pin, and I think he should just move king to
King c2 or king b1? King c2 probably, to keep everything protected.
yeah.
It's quite hard. It's quite hard because rook g1 is coming. And how does black respond? If he plays f3, is that bishop in play or out play? I can't quite decide. It's a really difficult position. Okay, well, any more moves? Is that it? Bishop h6.
Bishop h6, rook g1. He's
Okay.
allowing f3.
Well, okay, he allows f3. Okay, does he really want to play f3?
F3.
Opens one bishop, shuts the other.
Is it f3 and knight g3? Is that
Yes, but then of course you go queen h4. Oh, queen g5 might also be quite good, mightn't it?
You've got to play c4 at the right time. No, you can't now.
That doesn't look great, does it? So rook g1, could that be a mistake? f3, what's his answer to f3?
So f3, knight has to go to g3.
Well, then queen g5.
Rook has to come back to b1.
Rook comes back, yes, okay. Right, now can we go after... It's a really odd position, isn't it? Neither side can move too much. I mean, I can get my queen in. It looks about, I mean, what's the white queen doing? That's what I want to know. How do we get that queen into the game? You've got to play c4 somewhere. Any more moves, Ravi?
No more.
So, knight f3, and that's the position, yes?
Yeah.
He hasn't moved his knight yet.
Yes, he hasn't moved. No, there's no f3.
No
He played
f3.
Bishop h6.
Rook g1. It's
Bishop
the last
h6,
move.
g1. No more moves there. And a couple of moves in the top
Somebody
board.
could easily lose on time, couldn't they, in that position? It's not beyond the realm of possibilities.
So top board,
Yep, Hawkins zoo.
Hawkins has inched out a little
Rook
bit.
h2 was the last move.
Rook h2, knight f7.
Knight f7.
And then he now puts the rook onto d5.
Yep, that was it. One of those knight's moves. In comes the rook.
Yeah, and I think what happens if black rook plays to b1? What's wrong with freeing that rook?
Rook b1.
Rook b1. I'm not threatening anything, but at least my rook is active.
Nothing as far as I can see.
Because if white has no threats, he should not have allowed rook b1. Isn't it? Why to play rook d5? So is he probably going to play some?
He seems to have made his bishop pretty useless. Well, say I just double up, right? Come back. And say, how do you win?
Should I play rook c1?
Rook c1, okay. Rook c1, then I have to move my king. Well,
Rook b7 is also.
let's wait with that, shall we? There's no rush.
No, rook b7 check, rook b7, rook b7, king b7, bishop c1.
Oh, sugar. Okay, sorry. That's right.
So there are not many squares, and I think this is also going.
This is heading for a draw, isn't it?
It's heading for a draw, but I don't think either of them. I don't think it's going to be a handshake. And Chris Ward.
So rook d5, no other moves.
Chris Ward, time scramble coming up there after rook g1, no move. White is down to 4 minutes 14 seconds, and black has 11 minutes, maybe an advantage, but Chris Ward is known to handle time pressure well. I think. And in Nick Pert game, he just played knight into b6.
Wait a minute. So knight f4.
Knight f4.
38.
G3. No, he played g3.
38 g3.
Okay, and then knight d3.
Knight d3, yes.
Rook g5.
Just a second, let's highlight that. So rook g5 check.
Rook g7, rook into g7.
Yeah.
King into g7. Knight into b6. So what I see now is that
could be two knights be pawn. Ah, that would be quite unpleasant.
So what's wrong with knight into b2?
Nothing.
It's knight into b2, king e2, and then it's that knight trap.
That's the idea.
And then if I play c4, king d2, oh yes. So if you can't take on b2, and if the white knight puts the knight on c4.
Well, hang on, let me get my knight. It's not doom and gloom. Let's get the knight out.
c4. I mean knight d6.
King d2, you mean?
King d2, yeah.
How do I do this? Yeah, just move the knight in. That's the idea. You can't really attack it without letting it out.
Yeah, I think looks like it's. I think. Does it look like a win for Sam Williams now? That is he going to win this endgame because he's got the extra pawn?
Well, what do you mean? He could go knight takes b2.
Yeah.
Well, Pert's obviously intended to go king e2 against that, isn't he? And then knight e6. You can't trap the knight. All, of course, you can do is get those pawns rolling on the king side. So, well, I don't know. I don't know how to call this position. It could easily be two knights, three pawn, couldn't it, at the end? You never know. You know, black's got two knights, white's only got a pawn left. It could easily happen in this position. It's only two pawns for a piece. Black's got a passed pawn. I think we can keep an eye on these pawns. I don't see that they shouldn't go too far. I mean, it might be a draw, but I think white is certainly, you know, white's the one who's struggling. As long as that knight can't be won. Then knight d1 check. Then I run away. Hopefully. Maybe I don't. Just keep attacking it. Yeah, that knight is. Maybe it will end in a draw like this. Well, this one's hanging. Knight there. Okay. King here, maybe? Well. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think this game's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
It's got a draw written all over it.
You know, everything is like, even then it's a manual update, you know, I mean.
So, is that the position? No, this is the position. Knight takes b6.
Knight takes b6, he hasn't made a move yet.
It's looking like a draw.
They reached move number 41. It's going to be long play, long day in.
Right, Fernandez v Hebden.
Fernandez have done.
This could also look like a draw, but this next move by black is crucial. So we're just looking at this beautiful line here where black plays knight d2, white goes for mate.
So
black tries to escape the mate. Let's just see this, please. King h3, g5, and now king h3. Black's a clear rook up, but he can't stop mate. Beautiful. So Hebden's got to be really careful. If knight e1, king g1, knight f3 check, that looks like a draw.
Yeah, so he played king g5.
So Hebden, sense of danger, plays king g5.
G takes f5, G takes f5.
Okay, hang on.
And now computer move knight d3.
Right, so he did play knight d3.
Well, there's no more a draw, is it?
Yeah, but that D pawn looks dangerous. Okay, let me take it. King takes F3.
Yeah.
Right, now I just need a good move. Well, the obvious move is D2.
So the thing is, it cannot be declined because if you play Rook A2, it's knight D2.
Then you've got to play Rook D1 and try and hang on to this. But you can't. No, but you can hang on this position. You can hang on. Put your king on E2. That holds on, doesn't it? Knight D3. Well, eventually White will get around to pushing one of his own. That's for sure. So takes. Can Black do anything here? Maybe not. And White's clearly he's just going to push this guy here, or push this one, push one of them. What is Black doing? You see a way through for Black?
No, but the thing is,
But what is that trying to do? Rook B4 here. Well, okay, let's push a pawn. So take which pawn?
so can Black play Rook B3 here? That's the question.
It's heat, you know.
Rook
What's that?
B3, knight D1.
Rook B3?
Rook B3 is knight D1.
What are we talking about? What?
No, I'm talking
Rook here, rook where? B3?
knight D1.
Okay, so 91. That could be unpleasant. That's a threat, isn't it? Don't see anything immediately. That seems to save the day. So knight D3, a very interesting resource by Fernandez. He's devilishly resourceful. Sorry, which position are we talking about? Rook B3, knight E1, yep. Rook takes F2. Isn't king takes good?
Can't you do Rook B1?
Rook takes king takes rook b2.
Rook takes king takes rook B2. They have to go here. Look at that, mate. Amazing. Very nice. Give that chap a prize. That was a very good resource. Okay. Would you care for a prize? You're welcome. Round of applause. That was a brilliant resource. Martin Simons comes up with that amazing resource.
Killer end games. Killer end games.
No, let him choose. Let him choose. So that was knight D3, and now rook B3. Yeah, it's true. Okay, I have to take it with the rook then. Now you take on E1, King F1. This looks as though it should be losing, yes. I mean, White is exchanging a pawn up here. Hebden has plenty to think about, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hebden has plenty to think about. Right, quick run around the dial, maybe to finish off. We'll see how the games go. So Hawkins, fanzo, rook D5, move
Rook
40.
B to C6, and then defensive huddle.
Rook B to C6.
Yeah,
You will not pass.
Yeah, 40 moves done. Long thing.
Well, I think it's going to be a draw. I mean, you could ruin your whole tournament playing this on and on and on. Is there any way through?
Can you get the bishop to A4 if if black is in a defensive adults, can he get the bishop from f1 to a4? That's the thing, isn't it? If he
That's
plays-
going to take a long time.
So if he plays bishop d3, and then rook comes back to b6.
Hang on, you lose your rook, don't you?
I
Knight
want to play
b6.
bishop d3.
Knight b6. You can't.
Okay, and
B2 instead.
okay, fine.
Or rook b2.
No, I got to play bishop b2,
Bishop e2.
and then he's got to go rook b6. You see, that's the main problem.
Well, hang on. Let me eject your rook.
Rook back to d2.
Yeah, but okay, that's all right. Knight d6. Oh no, you can check then. Rook d6. Let's do that.
Yeah, so I mean, so that's the problem. Isn't it?
I don't think that bishop manoeuvre is very long-winded.
No.
I think this is going to end in a draw.
Yeah.
Maybe quite quickly as well.
So rook b6, no more move. Defensive hurdle. Hawkins, if he can find a way, he will. If not, it could be a handshake.
Well, everything hinges on whether he can get this bishop working, because the bishop's useless at the moment.
Yeah.
Admittedly, if you could put it on a4, that would probably really cause some problems in black's camp. You've got to get it there first.
Okay.
So that's it. Now let's go on to
First one.
Wardhow. Yes. So rook g1.
f3 played,
Okay.
knight g3 played,
Okay. Queen g5.
and now bishop f4 played.
Bishop f4.
Just threatening bishop to g3 and f2 at some point.
Well, not right now, but maybe he's threatening queen g5 or queen h4.
Yeah. So
This
that's-
queen on a5 is looking out of play, isn't it?
Yeah.
White's queen is looking spectacularly useless on a5. Yeah, he should have gone back to c2, yeah. Yes, suddenly I don't like White's position at all. I think Chris Ward's going to lose this. He's going to run out of time, isn't he?
Yeah.
Any more moves? Is that it?
No more moves.
Okay, very interesting. So, Pert Williams?
Pert Williams,
Knight takes b6, move
knight
41.
b6 played for black, and
Yeah.
white played king e2.
No, knight takes b6 by white on move 41.
Knight e6 by black.
Knight, he didn't take on b2.
No.
Okay.
And then king e2.
Yes, and now of course he can take on b2. Did he take?
No, it's that's the thing.
Well, if he takes, it could be a draw by perpetual attack on the knight, couldn't it? Knight takes b2. What was it, king here?
Yeah.
Knight d4, attack the knight. Knight moves, attack the knight again.
And then knight f2.
Yeah, but the knight can't get out, can it? If I keep attacking it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can do that. Then knight d7.
I think long play left, and I think weaknesses will be probed, and dinners will be missed.
Or not.
And apparently the restaurant downstairs closes quite fast. So.
And the janitor will be handing Simon Williams the key for the second night in a row if he wants to win this. So king e2 is of course, in a tournament like this, if you get any sort of advantage against your rivals, you've got to try and press it home. Because, the opportunities come few and far between against strong players, and the stronger the player, the fewer the opportunities you get. So basically, if you've got any chance at all to win the game, you've got to go for it. You can't just shake hands while there's still even a glimmer of hope. The question is, what is there a glimmer of hope? I mean, if he doesn't take on b2, what does he do? I suppose he could centralise his knight and just pretend that this is something, but with 3 pawns for the piece. What do I want to do here? Let me move my king. Just move my king up to e4. You've got to break in there. I think it should be fairly easy for White to draw that. So this is the position.
Yep.
Or is this the position?
Yeah, he just played king e2, and everybody has gone into a long pause now. Time triple out.
Right, so let's review the situation and then we'll call it a day. So Pert Williams, this one could go on for a long time, but it might not. Knight takes b2, king comes across, there could be a draw.
And then after night G3, Chris Ward against Howard David. I think Black is going to win this one.
Bishop F4 was played. Any moves?
No more moves.
He could be running out of time. Ward.
Yeah, no more moves.
Fernandez Hebden.
Fernandez Hebden.
This is the most immediately
no more
interesting.
Moves, thinking.
After knight D3.
Yeah.
But he's got plenty to think about, hasn't
He's got plenty to think about.
And Hawkins Zoo, again, pretty stodgy stuff. Right, so if you were predicting the results, Ravi, what would you say? Hawkins Zoo. I say draw.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Possibly draw Hawkins.
No, not possibly. Give him a result.
Yeah, I think he will. I don't think the bishop can come out to A4 or B5, so it's possibly a draw.
No.
Probably.
Ward Howe. I forecast a black win.
Yeah, black win. I agree.
Any more moves on that?
No more moves.
Pert Williams. I forecast a draw.
Draw. Agree.
You agree?
Agree.
You're an easy man to please. Fernandez Hebden.
Fernandez will win.
I'm finding this quite difficult to call at the moment. I'll reserve judgment until the next move is played. Because I think there's still some tricks that we haven't seen or possibly ideas to be discovered. Well, we will see because the boards aren't functioning right now. So that's it. Thank you for watching here live in Aberystwyth. Tomorrow is the rest day and we will be back on Sunday at 3 p.m. Just to remind you, the last round in the British Championship on Wednesday starts at 9:30 a.m. So we will be online with commentary from 10 a.m. But until then, it's 3 p.m. And we look forward to the pleasure of your company on Sunday. Thanks for watching online. Thanks here. See you in 2 days' time.